What's up, B Squad? Happy Sunday. It is me, your boy JB, and I am here today with another review for Love and Marriage Detroit, you guys. So, before I jump into this review, if you guys are watching this live or any other video on the channel and you guys aren't yet subscribed to the channel, then I need you guys to do me a big, huge, solid favor and please stop taking me out on a date and having me pay for it at the end of it. You guys know the routine. Do me that favor by liking the live, subscribing to the channel, turning on your post notifications, and also by sharing this video. And with that out of the way, you guys, without further ado, let's discuss Love and Marriage Detroit, shall we? All right, you guys. So for me, Love and Marriage Detroit, I don't know how I'm feeling about this show because the couples, I'm not really gravitating towards any of them. And for me, the men are just not that likable. So, yeah, I don't know how long I'm gonna be able to stick with this show. I just don't know because it's not giving what I don't know what I was expecting, to be quite honest with you. Good googly moogly. Come on, YouTube. Why do y'all do this? Like, I can't even go live without getting flagged. Okay, it is what it is. So, I don't even know what I was talking about. Oh yeah, with this show, I'm still trying to feel these couples out, but at this point, I'm not really necessarily liking anybody, so to speak. But I want you guys to tell me what you guys are thinking about Love and Marriage Detroit. If you're liking it, disliking it, like how are we feeling about Love and Marriage Detroit? So this episode it picked up literally where the last one left off at, and that was with the wine tasting that Dr. Latoya was having. And you know, I had so many issues with last week's episode because of the fact that when you watched that episode and you saw the end of it where, you know, oh boy, what is his name? Anthony, aka Antonia, when he was coming at Christina's friend Chelsea, I just had some feelings about the fact that nobody said anything to Anthony like, "Yo, man, that's a woman. Like, why are you talking to her in that way?" Like nobody checked him, and I just thought it was. I just wasn't feeling it at all. I thought it was low, and it made the men look absolutely weak, and it really makes Brandon look even weaker. Like this is your wife, Christine is your wife, and he's coming at your wife, but then he's also coming at her homegirl. So you look really weak. And then in this week's episode, Bravo. So Bravo wanted to chime in and talk to Christina, right? And so Bravo is what defending Brandon and defending Antonia, aka Anthony. And I'm like, wait a minute, how are we defending these two men? Like, I was just thoroughly confused by the fact that we can sit here and defend them. So the thing is, Bravo is trying to say that he feels like Anthony, not Anthony, but he feels that Brandon is being held back. And here's the question that I want to pose: how is he being held back? What is he being held back from? Number one, is because the club. If he's doing a showcase in the club, that's one thing. But he said in previous episodes he's trying to find talent in the club. And I'm just trying to figure out what kind of talent are you finding in the club? Unless it's like a club where they are in showcasing their talents, then sure. But if it's a dance club or a nightclub, how are you finding talent in the clubs if they're not showcasing their music? Like I just had that question. So then Brandon, he in this episode, he was very disrespectful of Christina, even more than he's been previously, right? So he says that to her that she's worried about her image. He tells her that she's worried about looking insecure. He tells her he has shackles on, right? And I'm like, you have shackles on, but you're married, and this is your wife. Like, honestly, if I was Christina, I don't know how much I could put up with Brandon because Brandon is just an absolute no for me, and that's just how I feel. Brandon would be a whole entire no for me. So I think Christina struck a nerve with Brandon when she was talking about the fact that if she wanted someone, if she could have any man that she wanted, and I was like, exactly, she's a beautiful girl, so you can get any man that you want. The issue that I have with Brandon is the fact that Brandon was trying to gaslight Christina throughout this whole scene. Everything he was saying to her was just him gaslighting her. I was like, you don't see that your husband is basically gaslighting the hell out of you, because he's making everything Christina's fault. The reason why he can't do this, the reason why he can't do that, everything he wants to place blame solely onto Christina. And I wasn't feeling that. And I'm like, how can you blame your wife for everything when she said that to you, that she's given up her career for 7 years to be the stay-at-home wife and mother? So yeah, Brandon Brandon is not somebody that I see it for. But like I said, Christina definitely struck a nerve with Brandon when she said that she could have any man she wants. And like I said, I agree with her. She's a beautiful girl. Any man would be happy to be with her. I just don't think that Brandon necessarily likes Christina. That's my personal opinion. And I want you guys to tell me down in the comment section what you guys think as well. So they eventually all left, right? And I don't, he's complaining, but I just don't understand what Brandon's complaints are, right? Because Brandon is talking about, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't do this, I can't do that. But at the end of the day, you went and signed an artist without her knowledge. You went to the club and didn't inform your wife where you went. So even if you want to say, quote unquote, want to complain and say you can't do this, you can't do that, but at the end of the day, you do what you want to do. You don't consult with your wife, and I think that's the problem. I feel like him and some of the other men on the show, they have issues with talking to their wives about what affects them and their family and their household. It's not you asking your wives for permission to do anything. It's you saying, okay, I'm someone's husband and I'm someone's father. So I don't have the luxury like a single person to just say, let me drop this and do this and do that and do this and do that. You have to sit down with your wife and say, okay, babe, I want to do this. What do you have to do with the kids? What do you have to do this week? What do you have to do that week? It's all about consulting your significant other. And that's something that I'm noticing every one of these guys are lacking. They don't I don't know if they view their wives as an equal or not, because that's a marriage is a partnership 50-50. So I don't think that they necessarily see that with their wives. I don't know what archaic ideas these men have about what a wife should be or shouldn't be, right? So Brandon and Christina, they left there and they walked home to their penthouse, right? And like I said a few minutes ago, Brandon gaslights the hell out of Christina, and he absolutely did it in this scene, right? So as they were walking home, Brandon was still in his feelings, and Brandon had the audacity to ask Christina, you know, do you still want to do you want to still be married to me or something like that, right? And she said yes. And he asked her, why do you want to be married to me? I was like, Christina, I'm gonna need you to wake up and smell the roses, wake up and smell the coffee, wake up and smell the morning breath, wake up and smell everything. This man is saying something to you loudly and clearly, and I don't think that you're hearing it. And honestly, I think she might be hearing it, but Christina said something later in the episode, and it made me realize why she is putting up with this. Christina grew up in a two-parent household. I hope she knows what a two-parent household is, right? But she said she grew up in a two-parent household with her mom and her dad, so she knows what a two-parent household is. And she wants that for her daughters. But here's the thing, when it comes down to a two-parent household, you don't want to be in a toxic, negative environment. And you don't want your daughters to see that and emulate that and think that that is healthy, because it's not. People should not stay in the marriages if they're unhappy because of their children. Your children can see that, your children can sense that, and your children will be affected by that. So, in a grand scheme of things, if your relationship is not where it should be, and if it's not healthy, happy, and conducive for you, then you have to make the executive decision to leave the marriage. Now, hear me loud and hear me clearly. I'm not telling Christina that she needs to leave her marriage, but I am telling Christina that she needs to reevaluate her marriage, take a look at her marriage, because there are a lot of cracks in the marriage. There are a lot of things that you should be taking, holding the mirror up to your face and be like, why is he doing this? Why is he saying that? So, and I want to say this last week about Christina. When Christina chose to stay with him after that emotional affair, if you were going to forgive him, and I'm not giving any leeway to Brandon by no means, but if you chose to stay with him, then you needed to let that situation go and move forward some kind of way, because what's the purpose of being in a relationship with someone if there's no trust? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. But yeah, with Christina, I definitely feel like Christina needs to take a look in the mirror and figure out what's best for her and her kids. Because if I don't know 100% that it is Brandon, if she feels like it's Brandon, then it could be Brandon. But I don't think so, because I think Brandon, like, he has 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Actually, I think he has both feet out, and I think that Brandon at this point is picking fights with Christina. I'm not saying that he's messed with that artist, but if he's done it once, what's to say he wouldn't do it again? So I would just be apprehensive of that. Keep that in the back of your head, like, And I would say this to Christina. If you remember what happened in the last situation, I mean, you found the text messages from him and that artist. So I would say, if these things look very similar to the last time, then I would be taking a look at, okay, he's doing this, he's doing that. Like, he's everything he's doing, it makes me think, and this is allegedly, but it makes me think the way he's acting towards Christina, it makes me feel like maybe he's already done something, and the way he's coming at Christina is him appeasing his guilty conscience. That's my personal opinion, and that's what I think and feel. I'm not saying that that's what the situation is. It's just what I think and feel. But I definitely want you guys. When talking to you, but I definitely want you guys to tell me down in the comments and the live chat what you guys think about that situation, and we'll move on. So, Dr. Latoya, I like Dr. Latoya, but when it comes to Dr. Latoya, I have an issue with her and the fact that she doesn't vocalize really what she's feeling. Because after the wine tasting, we see her talking to Antonia, and instead of her actually checking her husband and telling her husband, like, what you did in there was completely wrong, it was foul, and it was disrespectful. You were talking to a woman, like you were being disrespectful to a woman, and she said nothing disrespectful to you, right? So she's talking about how embarrassed she feels, and how she feels like, with this situation and what happened at the anniversary party, that apologies are owed all the way around. And I do agree. Now, for the wine tasting, yes, apologies are owed, but the apology needs to come from your husband to Christina and to her friend Chelsea. Your husband needs to apologize. Nobody else in this situation. Your husband was wrong. As far as the anniversary dinner, I don't really think anybody owes anybody an apology, because that happened because of Brandon's lies. So if anybody owes anybody an apology from that situation, it is Brandon. Brandon owes Christina an apology, but I don't think Brandon's going to give Christina an apology, because I honestly don't think that Brandon feels that he's wrong. So, also Dr. Latoya was talking about how in this particular situation, what happened, it wasn't even the right time or place for that to happen. And I'm like, exactly. But your husband is the one who escalated the situation. So I mean, I hear what you're saying, but you're not directing it toward the person that it needs to go to. And that is one of the issues that I have with Dr. Latoya. She's saying everything right, but you're not directing it towards the person that it needs to go to. Your husband was in the wrong. Your husband came sideways at a woman. So I would talk to that, right? She did say to him that they shouldn't be involved. And I'm like, you weren't involved. Your husband was involved. And like I said last week, I feel like Antonia does like the mess. I absolutely believe that he likes the mess, right? Because he didn't have to mention that they went to the club. He blurted that out for a particular reason. He wanted some drama to ensue, right? And he got what he wanted, but at the expense of your wife's event. And yeah, you guys, like I said, I don't see it for Anthony at all, and I would be fine if they do get a season two. I would be fine if honestly I would be fine if they revamp this whole cast because I do wonder where does Carlos cast these men because the men on this show and Huntsville are just bottom of the barrel for me personally. I like if that's what marriage is supposed to be, what people think that marriage is, no, that's not it, right? So the next thing we're going to talk about is Colby and with Colby and Russell. The one thing that I keep noticing every scene that I look at with Colby, her eyebrows, they are very, very thick. Like she has really thick eyebrows. So her parents came by the house to see her. And you guys remember in the last episode when Russell had told her that he was going to divinity school and he had talked to her dad. I have an issue with that. I get, I'm all for, saying that the Lord put it on your heart to go to divinity school, and that's fine. Nobody is discounting that. No one is saying that you're wrong for that. The issue that I have is the fact that you didn't have the conversation with your wife, your partner, the person you made vows with before God. You didn't make vows to her father. You made vows with her, right? So for you to go to her dad, it's like, yeah, he can give you his blessing, but he doesn't say have a say so in your household. So her mom and her dad, they came by to see her, and Russell and their daughter, they went on a daddy daughter date. So she told her parents, that she knows now that he's going to divinity school and he is in divinity school. So she said she didn't necessarily have an issue with him going to divinity school. She said the issue really came in with the fact that he didn't have the conversation with her. And I absolutely get that, right? Now, her mother, I was like, oh, my mama would have to leave my house because her mom basically defended Russell. And I was like, wait a minute. Even her, okay, I figured her dad would support it, but her mama was supporting. And I was like, oh, okay, this is a little cringy because here's my issue with this cast and with people in general who are Christians, right? They love to use the Bible when it benefits them. You can always find a Bible verse and quote when it benefits you. And I get, I get that the man is supposed to be the leader of the household, right? But is again, like I said earlier, a marriage is 50-50. So you don't do something without having a conversation and consulting with your partner. So for him to go and have a conversation with her father, that's not your partner. That's not the person you again took vows with under God. You took vows with Kobe. So before you went and talked to her dad and got his blessing, you should have sat down with your wife and said, "Hey, babe, so I feel like the Lord is talking to me and he's telling me to go to divinity school so I can be a chaplain." Have that conversation with your wife. Even if she says no, then at least you've had the conversation. And so when you sign up for divinity school and she says, well, we didn't have that conversation, you can say, oh, yes, we did. You just didn't agree with it. But I knew that it was something that I wanted to do and I did it for me, even though that is still very selfish. But I mean, at least you would have had the conversation at that point instead of just going to divinity school and now just springing it on her. And so she has to just live with whatever choices you make, right? And here's the thing that I want to say, right? Because her mom and her dad both said that God spoke to him. And so it's like God spoke to him. He's doing what God said, and she's supposed to just follow with that like a sheep, right? Here's my thing, and I'm not saying that God would do this because the God that I know wouldn't do this. This would be the devil who would tell you this, right? But let's just say that God spoke to you and told you to do something, completely life altering and life changing that could, end your life or put you in a precarious situation, right? And let's just say a completely life altering situation, and I don't want to say the word, but if you become unlived, right? Your wife is supposed to go along with that. And again, like I said, I know that God wouldn't put that on your heart, but I'm just saying, why not have, again, this just goes back to what I'm saying when it comes to this. Marriage is 50-50. It's a partnership. I just have an issue with the fact that he didn't talk to her. Like, That is my biggest problem with Kobe and Russell was the fact that Russell just didn't have the conversation with his wife. Period. Point blank. So then we also see as they went and they did a ropes course, right? And much like what I just said a few minutes ago, for me with Russell, it just feels as if Russell wants to say what he wants to do, and like a sheep, she's just supposed to follow along and just say, "Okay, whatever you want to do, I'm here for you. I support you." And that's just not what marriage is to me. Marriage is about it's a part again, a partnership, and I just don't understand. I don't get it. It's just this show right here. I'm struggling to watch it because, like I've said in earlier, the couples are just the couples. It's the issue. It's the issue with the couples. The couples are just not for me very likable. And the women, I do like the women. I do like Christina. I like Colby, and I like Dr. Latoya. But I want different things from each one of them. With Dr. Latoya, I want her to be able to speak up and use her voice. With Christina, I want Christina to be able to take off those rose-colored sunglasses and see everything in front of her. With Colby, I don't know what I want for Colby, but I want something for Colby. With this show, I'm gonna be surprised if any of these couples stay married. I don't see any of them. I don't wish divorce on anybody, but I feel like this show is gonna be an eye opener for so many of them to see I can do bad by myself. That's what I think. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. And we'll pause here and we're gonna go on and move over to the next scene. So I'm gonna talk about Christina and Brandon real quick, right? So we saw Christina. So Christina was with her friend Chelsea. So Chelsea came to Christina to make an outfit for her for an event that she's going to be going to. And here's my thing with Christina: you gotta, if your husband is gonna be selfish, then you gotta be selfish for yourself as well, right? If you are, you're a designer and you're an influencer, you have to be a little bit selfish for yourself at this point too. If he's gonna do it, you should benefit from it, and that's just all I say. I feel right. So Christina tells Chelsea what happened after the wine tasting, how she felt, and she felt the way I knew she should feel. She felt ganged up on because Brandon didn't say anything to both Bravo or to Antonia, and then he came at her, so she just felt attacked from all directions, and she didn't feel protected by her husband, which you shouldn't have because your husband wasn't protecting you. So then she was telling her how they walked home and he left and he didn't even come back home that night. Here's my thing with that: if you leave and you don't come home that night or the next day, then when you do come home, all your stuff is going to be packed and waiting for you at the door. You're not coming into my house. But this also goes back to what I said about Christina just a few minutes ago. Christina has the ideas of wanting her kids to grow up in a two-parent household, and I understand that. I don't have an issue with you wanting your kids to grow up in a two-parent household, but at the same time, you have to take care of yourself. You have to be able to take care of yourself. You don't want your kids to see this and think that this is healthy, a healthy relationship. This relationship is volatile and very toxic. And the best thing for your kids might not be being in the same household with your husband. That's just how I feel. But I definitely want you guys to tell me what you think about it. And we can go ahead and wrap up this episode with Antonia and Dr. Latoya. So we saw Antonia. So Antonia is working on a lookbook. So we saw him as he called Brandon up, right? So Brandon is telling him that he's been wilding since the event. And then he said he's been on Do Not Disturb because he's been pissed off at everybody. And I'm like, why are you mad at everybody? Now I can understand you being mad at Antonia because Antonia is the one that lit the match and started the flames, right? So I get you being mad at him. But your wife, why are you mad at her? Once again, you're in the situation that you're in because you are a liar and you won't tell your wife what's real and what's not real, right? So he told her, Antonia, that they got into it. He left and he hadn't been back home. Like I said, like I just said, if you leave and don't come back home, then don't come back. But when you come back, just know that all your stuff is going to be waiting for you outside of the door. You can get it and you can go on wherever you came from. And that's my thing with Christina. Like, I really just want her to sit and think about that. Why, if he's not coming home, where is he staying? Now, granted, he could be staying at the studio, but my my mind would just be wondering, like, who are you with? Actually, my mom wouldn't be wondering who you're with. My mom would tell me to say, okay, wherever you stayed at, then that's where you're going to need to go back to, because you have no place here with me and our kids. And he's, we'll be done at that point. So we then see a date night for Antonia and Dr. Latoya. So, he tells her that he has to go to Atlanta. And, he's talking about, I know you hate to hear that. And she says, I don't hate to hear that. She says, the issue isn't you going to Atlanta. The issue is that when you went to Atlanta, you tried to make that a home for you. And she felt like she was alone in Detroit. Excuse me, y'all. She felt alone in Detroit. And, she said that their kids were dealing with racism in the schools. And she felt like she was doing that all by herself. So then we later see them on a double date. And to be quite honest with you guys, with the double date, I wasn't listening because Antonio was making it all about himself. He even tried to fake cry. I was like, okay, sir, I don't have time for this crap right here, right? But the thing that I have an issue with everyone on this particular cast is they try to use God to facilitate the BS that they want to spew to their wives. Everybody so far has used God. Um, you know, Russell has used God, and now Antonio has used God, and Brandon just used every excuse in the book to try to justify what he does. And again, there is no justification to not having conversations with your wife. I don't care what the Bible says. In your marriage, you are someone else's husband or wife, so you should effectively communicate with them so that way you guys can be on the same page when it comes down to it. We are not in the 1950s anymore, so y'all got to let go of those old archaic ideals from the 50s that work. I don't even think they worked then, but hey, it is what it is, you guys. But that's really the episode. Feel free to chime in the comments section and let me know what you guys thought about this episode. For me, like I said, Love and Marriage Detroit, it's not, I'm not feeling it too much because I just don't think that anybody, especially the men are really, really not likable for me. That's how I feel. But I want you guys to tell me what you think and feel in the comment section below. And that's all I got. I will catch you guys later for Love and Marriage Huntsville. And then we'll be back for Real Housewives of Atlanta. And that'll be it. And yeah, you guys stay safe out there. Take care of yourselves, you guys, and wash your hands. Be blessed. And I'll catch you guys for something else. Bye, guys.